Money FM 89.3. Best of breakfast. Mind your business. Only on Money FM 89.3.
Welcome to Mind Your Business. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, mental well-being has come into focus across the world. Various research has found that the mental health of adolescents and young adults has been declining due to a variety of factors, including climate and technology woes, as well as harmful megatrends like financial inequality. But is mental health talk enough, and how can it be better weaved into work and social policies? For more insights, we're joined by Sabrina Ooi, co-founder and CEO of Calm Collective Asia, which is an organization with the mission to normalize mental health conversations in Asia. Sabrina, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I am good. I'm an hour behind Singapore. I'm here in Thailand right now. So,
okay.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Glad to know you're taking care of your mental health. I suppose you're on holiday?
No, work from here. Yeah.
Fair enough. Still works. Diving straight in, now we understand that you developed that interest in mental health because of your own lived experience with bipolar disorder type 2 as well as depression. Can we get you to share a little bit about that personal journey, how you came to know about the conditions and what it's like to live with bipolar?
Yeah, so bipolar looks very different for every person. Thankfully, for me, my bipolar disorder I've been able to manage it through medication and therapy. So every night I take a mood stabilizer as well as an antidepressant to manage the moods. So how I came to, I'll share what it's like to live with it first.
Sure.
So basically with bipolar disorder or any mood disorder that, of which bipolar and depression are two of a few, it means that compared to the average person, our moods may be a little bit more susceptible to stress. So when stress happens in our lives, this may trigger a depressive or, for me, maybe a manic episode. And for each individual who has this condition, the severity or the extent in which we experience these symptoms can look different. Thankfully, mine is quite under control at this point in my life. How I learned about it was I was initially diagnosed with depression back in 2015. I was a very stressed 25-year-old, and I found myself in a psychiatrist's office, and they're like, "Oh, I think you have depression." But about 2 years later, after several rounds of ups and downs, we realized that no, it's not just unipolar or one pole depression. It was actually, no, Sabrina, you have some highs that are not very normal as well, which means you're not sleeping very much. You're very sociable during these times and starting 10 projects at once that I'll never complete because depression comes. So, that's how we got to know. It's very hard to diagnose bipolar disorder, actually, but depression usually is quite straightforward.
Yeah, look, I'm glad to know it's under control, and thank you so much for sharing that. My next question is, what was, if at all, the turning point that prompted you to turn that interest into an actual business in the form of Calm Collective?
Yeah, I mean, the live experience, it was never the plan to turn it into a business. Initially, it was so how Calm Collective came about was that during the pandemic, 2 weeks into the lockdown, I'm not sure where you were, but I was stuck at home. Maybe you were here in the studio. But everything, all the work we were doing was non-essential. So I had a lot more time on my hands. I was formerly in the software industry working from home. So myself and two other friends started Calm Collective as a ground-up initiative initially. And we were organizing webinars, bringing in professionals, people with lived experience. I was sharing my experience as well online with everyone, with our community. 1 year later, we were the champions of the National Youth Council's Youth Action Challenge. I am still youth, based in Singapore terms. And that was actually when we received a grant from the National Youth Council as well as from the UN Development Program, which enabled me to pay myself a little stipend of $2,500, big pay cut. But it gave me the opportunity to give this a shot and take 6 months to try to make it work as a business. And thankfully, fast forward to today, it's now a business.
Yeah, and you haven't looked back since, so that's wonderful. Now, the bulk of your work, Sabrina, surrounds normalizing mental health conversations. Compared to what you've experienced in the past, how far do you think we have come with being comfortable with talking about our mental struggles? What do you think is still perpetuating the stigma around mental health?
Yeah, we've definitely taken several big steps forward. It's been nearly 5 years since we started, or maybe 4 years since, Singapore started talking about mental health on the national level, right? What I've seen is that people are a lot more open and more curious about mental health in general. And therefore, the conversations have begun and are going. Even the People's Action Party, they've got a whole mental health initiative around it now. What more can we ask for from a national level? However, there is still stigma, and where the challenge lies is really in the self-stigma that we have towards ourselves. So on a social level, we are now talking about mental health. We're like, mental health is very important. So-and-so has experienced has lost someone to suicide, has a bipolar disorder. But for me, as someone, who has the mental health condition, it's still very difficult to speak for ourselves, to have that level of vulnerability and confidence to do so. So I think it's really self-stigma. And then, on a secondary level, I've observed actually that there's still quite a lot of fear around the consequences of sharing one's own mental health struggles. So a lot of people are going to therapists, to psychiatrists. We've spoken to a lot of them. We work with a lot of them, and the caseload has increased. People are more comfortable talking about it in a closed door environment. But when it's out in the open, that's where the stigma still lies because of the fear of judgment and the consequences with it.
Yeah, the fear of external perception, yeah. And in some cases, a valid one even. Now, some would argue, Sabrina, that conversation is not enough to address the underlying issue. So when it comes to the workplace, what's preventing organizations from more effectively integrating mental health policies into workplaces? What are some of the challenges you've heard from employers? I believe you run, as part of your core offerings, corporate programs which help organizations normalize mental health at work through peer support and training. So if you could share some examples, that would be great.
Yeah, obviously this, it's not the same at every workplace, but generally speaking, it always starts from leadership and also on a team level, the managers, right? So is the leadership and are the managers within a team, are they able to provide that psychological safety around, before even psychological safety, do they have that mental health literacy to understand what mental health is, what it's not, how to manage that in a way that's inclusive to the workplace while still introducing accountability and performance standards that are required in the job? Right? Do you understand the landscape of mental health? And with that awareness, how do you then create a psychologically safe space through your culture, through policies that guide the way that you interact with each other, to make it safe enough for people to speak up, to share their personal struggles, whether it's mental health or even like the death of a relative, right? A lot of these difficult conversations are hard to have when you don't feel safe.
Yeah, I want to delve into your own sort of approach to leading with championing mental health. What steps do you take to ensure that your employees feel supported and empowered, especially in terms of mental well-being?
It's a hard one, right? So I have to walk the talk, and I try my best. Of course. And it's interesting because, obviously, we must walk the talk, and it's hardest given that we're in this line of work. So what steps do we ensure? So I would say we do it very much from a culture perspective. Policies here and there, but more so from a culture perspective so for me as the leader, I need to make sure that when my employee or my team member comes forward and says, hey, I am dealing with anxiety issues, for example, and it's maybe affecting my work. How can I approach that conversation with empathy? How do I create that safe space for them to share this struggle with me? And then the question is, how do I then respond to this in a way that is compassionate, that is productive for them and for myself, because I have to take care of the interests of my team as well, right? So for me, it's really about balancing that fine line between showing empathy and concern and care, and having that culture of care, while making sure that I can also take care of the team, the rest of the team, and the business's interests. So my approach has really been to consider it on a pretty much case-to-case basis, because everyone is different. I run a small team. I don't have a big organization. But in terms of policies that we haven't really fully implemented, but we do have it actually. So from the point of onboarding, we get everyone to share a user guide, to write out their own personal user guide and share, any personal challenges that they deal with. So for example, we've had someone who is for example, a mother who has a kid who's struggling, right?
Yeah.
Or someone who has asthma. So this also goes with physical issues, or someone who's dealing with their own other mental health condition. The big question there is, what kind of accommodations can we introduce to help you do your best work, while also being very clear about what your work entails and what the needs are?
Yeah, it's a two-pronged approach, right? And it can be difficult to navigate, but it seems like you're doing a great job of it. If we take a bigger picture look at mental well-being, what sort of social policies do you hope to see in the coming years ahead, especially in Asia, where mental health may still be somewhat stigmatized? And what are some of the key gaps you hope can be filled?
So many policies. I think on a broader level, I would like to see in Asia and Singapore policies that acknowledge the differences that we have within our society, whether it's neurodiversion, right? If you have ADHD, if you have autism, if you have bipolar, you may need different accommodations to feel included and to level the equity or the playing field for you to make sure that you're able to join the workforce in a way that is productive, or participate in social events in a way that is inclusive. I am hoping that the policies that are introduced in the next chapter of this mental health conversation is really around leveling the playing field for people who have mental health conditions as well as other neurodiverse conditions.
Fantastic. And finally, are there any upcoming events that we can look forward to? I believe I saw on your website an event on the 4th of Feb around navigating loneliness. Can you tell us a little bit more about that one?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're organizing that 10 days before Valentine's Day.
Oh, lovely.
And that's also my mom's birthday, but that's not relevant here. So yes, we're organizing Calm Circles, which is our peer support group that we run for the community. We run that virtually and in person in Singapore. So this one on the 4th of February on navigating loneliness. It's really a safe space for us to come together in a 90-minute format. Yeah, for us to just have mental health conversations around this specific theme. And we're going to be doing this virtually on the 4th of February after Chinese New Year. So feel free to join us. And you can find information on our website or Instagram or LinkedIn.
Sounds good. Fantastic stuff. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Sabrina, and enjoy Thailand.
Thank you so much, and enjoy Singapore, I guess.
Thank you. You'll be back to Singapore soon, I'm sure.
Yes, Sunday.
That was Sabrina Ooi, co-founder and CEO of Calm Collective Asia. You're listening to Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.